Hello everybody and welcome back to Louisiana Homestead. Guess what we doing today? We're going to be cleaning an air conditioning window unit, which I take mine out and I clean them once a year. So I want to share that with y'all. Today I'm going to be cleaning one that is for a family member. I'm not going to say which family member, but they needed some help getting their air conditioner cleaned up. It was draining inside of the house instead of outside of the house because it was stopped up. And since I'm so used to cleaning mine, I said bring it here and I'll clean it for you. So when you're doing this job, I like to wear some old clothes and old tennis shoes, maybe even some waterproof shoes, like some rubber boots would be good. It's just so hot today. I don't know if I'll be going for the rubber boots. I may though. And you know, you just want to be careful with that when you take it out because water will spill out of it when you tilt it out of that window. So the air conditioner has been brought to me already. Mr. E's put it on the back of my truck for me. So let's go take a look at it. Okay, this is the unit. It had some knobs on the front of it here. He took those off. Mr. E did that for me. And he also went around and took all the screws off on the side. There are screws all over where I'm pointing, where you see holes at. And on this side as well, there was some screws here. And there may have even been a couple on the back. But he got all of those off for me. And then he took this case off for me, but I just wanted to show you how it was on there. So all this comes off, and then you get to look on the inside and see what's in there. And there's some mold growing in there, and this is the inside where the fan is, and as you can see, all that's caked up with mold as well. The front of it also full of mold. The ends, it's even got gel like stuff on it. It's a mess. And the inside of, well, you see I came around this side of it. There's a hole there. You can probably not see it, but there's a hole right there that goes to the front of the unit. And when all this condenses and the water comes from this too, it's supposed to go through this hole and back through this side, and then it drips outside. Well, what happened is this hole here is clogged up. So that's why the water is draining in the house on this side of it here. The first thing we're gonna do, for me anyway, is I like to put this on the tailgate of my truck because I can reach it. I can reach the air conditioner real good, and it's at a good level for me to work at. I like to have a hose with a nozzle on it and be near a faucet. So I've got all that right here and be in the shade as well. The next thing is I like to have an old toothbrush to work with, a butter knife, some tape, a little plastic baggie, some scissors, and this is, it says mildew destroyer, but I actually have pure Clorox in this because it works better. Pure Clorox to me, I really don't like to work with Clorox. So if you do work with Clorox, I'm about to go change this shirt because I don't want to get it Cloroxed. Wear you some old clothes. Clorox does work best for this because there's just so much mildew involved with it. So I'm going to change my shirt and I'll be right back. Okay, I got an old shirt on. If I get bleach on it, it won't matter. And I got some tennis shoes on that I'm not worried about either. It's just too hot for rubber boots today, y'all. So the first thing we're gonna do is take our little plastic and we are going to get our tape and we're gonna tape this secure because I want to protect these electronics right here since I'm gonna be using a lot of spraying water and Clorox. So let me get that taped up for us. Okay, you see I've got my plastic on here. I've got this sealed up as best as I can all the way around it. to keep any moisture out of that electronics area. Now this, you see this right here? This comes off too, and it's gonna make it a lot easier to clean. I'm just gonna take this off, and it might end up tearing. I take the risk whenever I do it, y'all. You are taking a risk when you clean these. Sometimes you put them back together and they don't work. But take that tape off there too, and then this is going to shimmy right off. See there? Now I've got this piece separate so I can clean it a lot easier. It's not attached on there. And now I can get down in this area a lot better as well. A lot easier. Now, this is the area, I know it all looks pretty rough, but this is the area that is keeping it from draining. There's a lot of gunk in there, you see that? All that is what's keeping that from draining. So, what I'm going to do first off is go in with my hose and just take as much of it off as I can. And I'm going to try to not get any direct spray on this portion of the air conditioner. Now, I'm doing this at home. I feel relatively safe doing this. You do what you feel is safe at your house. I'm not suggesting that you do this. I'm just showing you what I do. Also, I'm going to take this plug and I'm moving it out of the way because I don't want to get that end of that wet either. So going ahead and move it right on off to the side. Alright, let's see if we can get some of this stuff removed. Okay, a lot of it's already coming off. Before I put my Clorox on it, I'm going to try to just remove some of it like this with this soft toothbrush. A lot of it's going to come off just with this. And then once I get down to where I can't get any more of this off, then I'm going to come back and spray it with that Clorox on this section. Okay, let's give it another spray. Alright, that's pretty good. Let's keep on working it out of there. Work it from the top, work it from the bottom. Just get in there and get as much of that old gunk out of there as possible, because there is some gunk in there. And you know, this has got to make the electric bill go up, because it has to work extra hard when it's got that much stuff stopping it up. And you know what's sad? A lot of people's air conditioners are in this condition. You just don't realize how bad it is till you have a problem with it. Okay, let's see if we can get some of this stuff out of here. I think what I'm going to do is try to use my hose to blow that out of there. You see, it already cleared a bunch of it out, and it's flowing out through there too. You see, all that couldn't flow to the back side because this was stopped up. Okay, now back here all this is messed up and stopped up too. I'm going to try to clean it as best as I can as well, using the hose to get rid of a lot of it. Do the same thing with this back side of it. Clean it off and use the toothbrush. This part, see all this back here is pretty gunked up. Stocked up with bugs and mildew. Now we're going to wet this part too. Get it kind of where it can start soaking. Okay, as you can see, all these need to be cleaned. So I'm going to go through each one of them and clean them with my little brush. Okay, I do have a lot of it cleaned off in there, but now all of it's gone down into this. It's holding the water in there. I'm going to have to tip it over on its side and get that out of there. So carefully, I'm going to tilt this on its side. Like this. And a lot of this old gunk is going to come out of here. I'm going to try to get some of it to go on the outside of the truck here. And I'm going to give it a little hosing while I have it on its side. So now if you look down in here, you're starting to see some white area. It's not so black in there anymore. Now it's still got a lot of cleaning to go. We still got a long ways to go. Okay, and now we're going to start cleaning inside of this styrofoam area. Clean it, scrub it as much as you can reach. It's going to be hard to reach some areas in here. One thing that I forgot to bring out is my paper towels, so I'm going to have to go get those in a minute, and you'll see how I'll use those as well. So I'm going to try to get as much of this off with this toothbrush as possible. Even down on this side, there's some problem areas, some trouble areas. And just think, this is where the air comes from that blows into your house. That's not healthy at all. They really need to be cleaned once or twice a year. When I get through cleaning this one, I'm going to spray it with something to help prevent this from happening so quickly. It's hard for me to hold the camera and do this at the same time, so I'm going to go ahead and scrub some of this, and then I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so I'm going to go on ahead and take my toothbrush to every bit of this, as much as I can get, wherever I can reach. Going to be scrubbing those fins, inside, outside, the same with these back here, all of them, and all this stuff too, whatever I can reach. This stuff also is going to have to be scrubbed. That's what I took off the top of it. This is the front cover. It's going to have to be scrubbed. Now see, from this side don't look so bad, but when you pull it off and you see the inside of it, it looks pretty rough. So we definitely got to get that. And I'll do this part too somewhat, even though that part don't matter as much, but I'll clean it too. And it's going to take me a while, so I'm not going to just leave my camera running the whole time. Once I get that all scrubbed off, then I'll show you what it looks like before I put the Clorox on it. This piece too can give you some trouble, but it also should be removable, so I'm going to try and get it out of here. Let me see if I can snap it out of here. Yeah, there it goes. So now I can clean that piece a little easier too. Got a lot of small pieces on here that needs to be cleaned. Just try to get it all as best as you can. And keep hosing it off, rinsing it. It's pretty hard to get this area here down under this fan. So what I do is put some paper towels in there, and I use the fan and my little knife to kind of work it through there to help me to clean underneath it. And that usually works pretty good.
You don't need your light on?
No, not right now. Alright. So we're going to try to get down in here too with the brush. But it's a really difficult area to clean down here. I'm going to spray some bleach on this. I've already got some bleach sprayed on these now that I got them brushed off, and on these ports as well. I already have bleach sprayed on these. This part had some kind of stubborn areas, and I'll just go over those again with the bleach until I have it all cleaned up. But it's cleaning up pretty good. I got most of the stuff cleaned out back here and here and here. This area, got it brushed off and sprayed. So I'm just going over it all, this section of it, with some bleach at this time. If you have an old one of these laying around, that could be a good option too to get under there. Because it is hard to get that area. I find that's the hardest area to clean. Now you might could just take this off with that bolt there. I've never tried it because I just didn't want to risk it. I'd rather just try to clean it with it on. I usually manage to get it clean somehow, so I'm good with that. We're just about done with the cleaning of it. Okay, I try to be pretty careful whenever I clean one of these because these little fins are very sharp, and if you are working in this area, you know, anywhere around it really, and you're not paying attention, you can get cut on these very easily. So I try to pay special attention to that when I'm working on these. Also, each time I spray and this bottom fills up, I have to tilt it over and empty all of this out. And I'm ready to tipped it over for the last time so that it can begin to dry. I want to make sure I have all that bleach rinsed out of there because I don't want it to dry with that bleach on it. Okay, as you can see, most of the parts here have come out really nice and clean. Everything looks a lot better than it did. Even the cage here, that's some glue that didn't come off, but mostly it came out nice and clean. This part of it came out as clean as I can get it. The inside especially is what I was aiming for, to get nice and clean. And of course I got this unstopped. You remember how that was stopped up earlier? That was pretty bad there. Let me see if I can find that toothbrush where you can see it's cleared out now. You see that? It's all cleared out now. That channel is clear, and any water that comes out of the front can run to the back and then outside instead of inside. So I'm not gonna just put this thing, now I wanted to show you this too. This part was really bad. There's still a couple of spots that's being hard-headed, but I just keep treating those and I'll get them as clean as I can. It's a lot better than it was when we started out. Now I'm not going to just put this thing back together right now. I want it to dry completely, and then I'm going to treat it with something for mildew, and then I'll put it back together. Once everything's dry, I'm going to use this to spray on it before I put it back together, and then I'm going to let this dry on it before I put it back together as well. This is some DWD2 Clean Air Protect Multi-Surface Mold Spray. Inhabits mold and bacteria growth. Kitchens, bathrooms, garages, marine, industrial. All natural, effective results. Advanced technology, contains no harsh chemicals, made with powerful plant enzymes, keeps working long after application. In all the years that I've done this, when I first started doing them and I cleaned them with bleach 20-some years ago, I thought that was enough to keep the mold from coming back, but it wasn't. That's why I started using this stuff that I just showed you, and it does help more than anything else that I've tried to keep it from reoccurring, you know, for a certain amount of time. It prevents it from coming back the longest, I'll say. And usually when I get through with this, I would spread all these parts out in the sun and let them dry real good in the sun. But I've got a cloudy day, and it's actually late in the day, but it wasn't a matter of poor planning. It was a matter of circumstances, the way this all worked out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set all this in front of some fans to allow it to dry. Now also, when I'm drying it, when I get to this part and it's got this sponge stuff on it, I make sure I go over it with a paper towel and remove all that excess dampness out of it also as part of the drying process. Even once this air conditioner is completely dried, I'm not going to be plugging it in probably for 24 hours. I just want to make sure that the entire unit is completely dried, because even though I took great care to not get the electrical components wet, I know that some of them did get wet because, I mean, let's face it, I had a hose in there. So I want to make sure that this is dry completely before I plug it back in. Okay guys, it's the next morning and everything's dry, and I want to put my masterpiece back together. I brought the unit in the house last night and put it under a fan and under my air conditioner just to make sure it was completely dried, because if I would have left it outside in this humidity, it would have never dried. So let's get it back together. Okay, so let's start putting her back together. If I can remember how this goes. When you're taking it apart, try to pay attention how it goes back together.
Thank you for finding that. Hey, there's 2 screws that are different.
Now what I didn't tell you that part of my kit was a screwdriver to take it apart, and also a little bucket to keep all the screws in. And you want to try to keep track of what screws went where. It's not a real big deal because most of them are the same size, but I do have a couple of them. As you can see, most of them are the same size, but I have a couple here that are different and they went in a different place, but I know where they go. I thought about it, and I'll be putting those back where they belong. Okay, now if you remember, when we undid this before, we had some pieces of tape holding it here and here. And also I have all this taped up, which I don't need that taped up anymore. I need to take that off of there to get this back together. Get that off of there. Okay, I need both hands. I'm going to give this a little bit of new tape here just to hold it in place. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. The tape that comes with these sticks to styrofoam good. This does not. So I'm going to have to improvise to make it stay on there, which this will work fine. It's not damaging it because it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't go all the way through. So that'll hold it. That'll work. Okay, when you're putting it back on, you just want to make sure that all your little holes line up, your screw holes here and there. You see that? Make sure they're all lined up all the way around it on every side. And then you're going to get your screws and start putting them on. Now, these two bigger ones, they went right here. The rest of them are all the same size. So I just need to get to putting them back on. Now, Mr. E actually took these off for me, and he used a power screwdriver. Well, I'm going to be just using a hand screwdriver because when I put them back on, they're so short, you know, I don't want to overdo it, in other words. And when you put this bar back on, make sure you put it the right way because it will go on this way or this way. So pay attention to how these fins go on, because that's what's going to tell you how this thing goes on, because this slides into that. You see this thing? She's got some tape on it. I'll just take that off and then put some new tape. It says right there, right side. Right. It says right on it. So you know that one's going to go on the right hand side. And for it to go on the right hand side, you see how it doesn't have that protrusion at the bottom? It only has it at the top. It's because it fits in to this channel here. So therefore our channel is going to go on like this. So pay attention to that before you screw it on, so you don't have to do it and undo it like I've did through the years learning the hard way. Alright, this one takes 4 screws at the top, so I'm going to get those on. We'll start with those. And like I said, I'm just going to hand tighten these. And sometimes you'll get one, a screw don't want to go right there. Sometimes you'll get one, the screw don't want to go right there. You just get you another screw. Sometimes the threads on them are a little off. And another one will go right in. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm going to put this one on. Okay, so I've got all these on up here. And I also went on ahead and put those 2 longer ones I told you about up here. So I got all of them on the top. Now I'm going to go on ahead and put it back together on the sides and on the back. So I'm going to just put my screws in, and I'll meet you back in a minute. Okay, so we got our screws in on the sides, both sides here, here, and there's another one there. This is the little thermostat thing. It's a bad design on this one because it's hard for it to keep where it's supposed to be at the way this thing's made. So I tried to tuck it in down here. The owner of it, I seen who had it jammed back, and the reason is because the filter on it, you have to put it in from the side here. You see that? You have to go from the side to put it in, And I think what happened was when they was replacing the filter, it caught that thermostat and pushed it back. So I tried to tuck it down in there the best I could. It's going to do a better job than it did because it was pushed way off to the side before. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing back on there. And it has to line up with everything as well. This one's going to clip in. You see these clips right here? There's one on each side. There's one here and one here. You see these holes right here? That's where they're going to clip in at. Also on the side, there's some more clips like that match clips on the side of this as well. See, there's some. Alright, let's see if we can get it clipped on here. Mr. E's feeding the dogs. You'll probably hear that. And also, you see these protruding knobs? That's what controls this unit. So that has to line up too with these holes in the front. So take a little bit of jiggling. You want to make sure that this metal piece is under. It's plastic. There it goes. That snapped right on already. Now let's see if this side will go on as easily. Yep, it did. Okay. Alright, so far so good. Now this also is going to take some screws, which I have 2 screws left over. And that's where they're going to go on each side of this thing. Alright, now these are going to go on. And like I said, they go into these things, but we're not going to push these in there yet. We're going to pull this out because this has to fit into these first. And get this down in there. Okay. It's going to have to go through all of these. Just be patient. It is aggravating. It's an aggravating little job. But we'll see that goes right in there. And it just follows all the way down like that. And then you can pull this back and put it into that channel. And there's a channel at the bottom too that this piece here fits into. And this stuff's made kind of cheaply. You just kind of work with it the best you can. Be patient with it. And we got this side back together. And we're going to do the same thing with this side there. But that channel thing, like I was saying, is only at one end of this. So you got to put it on right. That channel port has to go fit into this, so that has to go at the top. So let's rethread this. Like I said, it'll take some patience, y'all. If you don't have patience, this probably is not a good project for you. Okay, let's redo this. There we go. Now, there we go. I'm going to pull this back. And there, this one goes in this bottom channel. And this one goes in the top channel. Okay. And it's going to probably scrunch up on you and all that. Just be patient and take your time and get it in there. Okay, so that's back like it's supposed to be. Let's starting to shape up. All that's left is to put the little knobs back in place. If you look at them, you'll see they fit on there one way. See the shape of that? You want to match it up with the shape that you have on this thing. Now, one says mode and one says temp. Okay, this one's for the mode. There we go. And this one's the temperature. All right, there we go. And it's back together. It's a lot cleaner. It's gonna drain properly now. And it's done. All in all, it probably took about, if I don't count the drying time, just the cleaning time, it probably took an hour and a half. I think that would be a fair statement, an hour and a half. To take your time, you know, and really clean it, because it has a lot of little parts on it that you have to get into. It helps to have all that little stuff ready. Like I was saying, my little cleaning kit, to have that right there by you. Because in the beginning, when I first started cleaning these, it took me longer than that because I figured it out as I went what I needed. Now I know what I need and I just have it there, and that makes the job a lot easier. So we're done. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe. I hope you learned something. And until next time, bye. Hey, let's see if this thing comes out and goes back in. If we're having trouble with it, how we put that thermostat in there. It does a lot better. Okay, very good.